Thank you and welcome. This is a session on in the future of work topic around the design of remote offices and what you need to do if you're working remotely. We've talked about the IMCCA, the Interactive Multimedia and Collaborative Communications Alliance. I am one of the executive board members. It's the nonprofit organization representing collaboration. We're upstairs on the show floor. Please visit our website, imcca.org, and get involved. Membership for end users is free, and membership for organizations is very inexpensive. And this is me. I am celebrating my 46th year of trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. I did quite a bit of work in broadcasting and quite a bit of work on the end user side. I've been a consultant. I've been a product manufacturing representative. And I'm now working as an independent analyst with the firm Talking Points with a Z. You should visit us at talkingpoints.com. So, everybody knows the pandemic story. I don't need to get into it again. We've now put a number of years past us and it. But people decided they needed to stay home and work so that they wouldn't get sick. And we saw a lot of people in their spare bedroom and in their kitchen and working on top of a bed or their living room. And many of these locations are just not optimal for work. We proved out that remote working works for those of us that can do that, but we didn't really have a good way or location of dealing with that at the time, and that started to slowly change. I've come up with what I describe as an optimal remote office design, and there are 12 very specific points around that. Some of them are applicable to some people, some to others, but I will go through all 12 points now so that you can understand the thinking behind each one of them, and you can adapt your remote working capability to meet all of this. I've covered much of this before in an article that's in Commercial Integrator Magazine. The URL is up on the screen there. It's tinyurl.com/12-step WFH. That's 12-step capital WFH. Take a look at that if you'd like to, and that's going to cover a lot of what I'm talking about at the conference here as well. Number one is picking a location, and this is actually really very important. I've said this at a couple of other sessions, so I apologize if this is a repeat for some of you, but it's important to know that you are going to work. I have no problem with my mobile phone answering a message if I'm out at a kids event or if I'm in something entertaining or just going around and doing errands. I'm happy to discuss things with my colleagues and be there for them and answer questions for them, but that's not working. That's just being available and reliable. When I've actually decided that this is the time of day that I'm going to work, that I'm going to spend time at my desk, and that I'm going to compose or that I'm going to complete a project, I need to go to a place mentally that I know this is me at work. My wife will know that. My children will know that. My pets in the house will know that. They want to see me go to this location. I want to see me. I will know when I'm here, I'm working. The rules have kind of changed. Don't interrupt if you don't really need to. So creating a dedicated location for your own mental health and mindset to know that when you're there, you're working, and when you're not there, you're not, is very important. If you live in an apartment or in a condo, setting aside a corner that is your workspace. If you live in a house, setting aside a room, or like I do it in my finished basement. I have a desk, I have a whole bunch of equipment there. We'll talk about some of the equipment as well. But everybody knows that when I go there, I'm at work. My commute happens to be 12 steps down to the basement. That's kind of why we call it a 12-step program, but there are also other 12 steps as well. Number two, this is what I was talking about the other day as well. You have to perform the flush test. If you're going to be working from home and you have a partner that's going to be working from home and your kids may be doing schoolwork, or they may be watching YouTube videos or TikTok videos, or they may be playing video games online, do you have enough bandwidth coming into your location to support everybody working at the same time? A good rule of thumb is about 15 megabits per person. And you can do the multiplication. There's lots of high bandwidth broadband capabilities to many people's houses nowadays. It's not hard to get, it's not hard to find, but I would definitely at least have 15 megabits for everybody that's in the house and multiply it, because it's not enough that it's just enough for you to work. If you go to a typical hotel room, you'll typically get 8, 9, 10 megabits just in the room, but then you add a second device and a third device and a fourth device, and it becomes very difficult to do high bandwidth video and share files and do other collaboration. So that's number two, is making sure there's enough bandwidth for every conceivable user at the location, not just for you. Step three, give yourself some space. Give yourself some room to work. Whether you're using, a lot of people prefer stand-up desks nowadays, so they don't have to sit down, or one that goes up and down, or like I do, I'm an old guy, I sit down at the desk. Make sure that not only do you have all the equipment that you need to do your work, but you've put some space on the desk. What if you have a new device that you want to try? What if you have a new document that came in the mail, you need to open it, you want to spread it out and read it? Make sure that you've given yourself room on your desk to do work. Number 4, get yourself a good camera. Most notebook nowadays, some displays, some all-in-ones come with a built-in camera. And if you're traveling, yeah, that's kind of okay. You can sort of use a camera that's built into the device and built into the system. But the truth is, those cameras, they're just not really good. If you're going to be working, especially if you're going to be speaking to clients on a daily basis, and you want to have a good set of communication, you want them to see you well, you need to take extra steps to make sure that the video that you're presenting presents you in the best way. And one of the most important ways to do that is get a higher quality camera. They're not expensive nowadays. You can get a really good camera for around $150 US. You can get less expensive cameras that are also better than the built-in ones. You can get a number of people in the industry use DSLRs and repurpose them for this. But get yourself a camera that's specifically dedicated for your workspace so that you'll be seen well in foreign locations. But that's not the only thing that you want to do in terms of being able to be seen well. We talked about this in advance as well last couple of sessions. Look at the camera. It's not something that's easy to do. Now, there are some AI capabilities coming out now that adjust what's called the gaze angle. So if you're looking down at your screen, it makes it look like you're looking at your camera, but they don't really work very well. And there's, AI is, as with any AI, it's 80% useful, but it's going to make that 20% is not going to work. You have to train yourself, again, especially if you're talking to clients, especially if you're talking to senior managers, every once in a while, even though you really want to see what they look like and you want to see what's going on, if you're presenting, if you're speaking, you have to look up and look at the camera, which is typically a little higher than your screen. You can cheat it. You can make the image of the far end people really small and close to the top of your screen, so when you're looking at it, it kind of looks like you're looking at the camera. But I make a point, even when especially if I'm speaking to a client or somebody that I'm trying to impress, I make it a point to stop looking at my screen and to look directly, eye level, right into the camera. Because on the far end, people think you're looking at them, and if you're making eye contact with them, they think that it's a better presentation, they can trust you more. It's about the human factor of trust. Audio is one of the most important parts of video, and I'm sure you've heard that said many times. The interesting thing about working in a home office is you probably need multiple types of audio systems to use. Don't just get settled on one. Many people nowadays that are doing podcasts and webcasts from home are using a radio boom arm and a radio type microphone that hangs like this, and you see them on the screen talking like that. That's nice. I don't know that that's necessary. That's absolutely necessary. I bought a $30 desktop ribbon microphone from one of the manufacturers. It sits off screen right underneath what I'm doing. It does a really nice job, and it allows me to walk around. I hear the far end speaking through speakers, and I'm using that microphone if I'm standing there, and it works really well for me. But then again, there are times when I'm walking to the other side of the room, and I'm working on a project on the test bench, and I want to be able to talk and record what's going on. So I have a headset for that. I also have a headset if maybe I'm talking about a sensitive subject and I don't want the other people in the house to hear it. Or, my wife and I argue about cleaning people in the house all the time. She likes to have outside cleaners come in and work on it, and I hate outside cleaners because they move things around in terrible ways and I can't stand it. But when they're cleaning, when they're vacuuming on the floor above me, I never let them into my office, but when they're vacuuming above me, that's noise that's not just distracting to the far end. That's usually cleared up with any type of noise reduction system, AI in the microphone or in the platform. But I don't want to hear it. I don't want to be distracted by it. So I'll put on headphones with noise canceling as well for me. So the idea is to have more than one device based on the different needs that you have and make sure that they're all good quality and you know how to switch back and forth between them. Don't think you're on one when the other one happens. And that happens to me sometimes. I'm one of the odd people that I'll be doing video conferences on Google Meet, and then I'll be doing it on Microsoft Teams, then I'll be on Zoom. And as you switch back and forth between platforms and browsers, sometimes it picks the wrong camera and the wrong mic. And you have to go into the settings each time and make sure the one you intend to use for that conference or that call is the one that's actually selected. Definitely pick more than one. Okay, that's number 6. We're halfway done, right? Halfway to 12? Anybody has any questions on this, just raise your hand, let me know, and I'll keep going. Lighting. Lighting is the most important and the least understood part of conferencing and collaboration when working from your home office. Even if you're using a terrible built-in laptop camera, if you give yourself good high-quality lighting, you will appear a lot better. And if you use a great camera and great lighting, you will appear terrific. What is great lighting? I don't want to get into too many of the details of that. If you look up broadcast 3-point lighting on any web search engine, there are tons and tons of examples of how you would do broadcast lighting, really high quality lighting. But it's essentially 3-point lighting is what's called a key light, a fill light, and a backlight. Typically, the key light comes to you from one angle, 45 degrees to the side, and it is your main light. The fill light comes in at the other 45-degree angle. Again, it doesn't matter which side is which, and it's filling in the shadows that are being created by the key light, so you don't have really dark shadows behind your nose. And then the purpose of a backlight, which is the third of the 3-point lighting, is to separate your back from whatever the background is. So, you know, I would love to throw out all of the professional broadcast lights that have been advertised in our industry. I'd love to throw out every ring light I've ever seen because they're kind of ridiculous. That's not needed. I was just here with a colleague at this conference, and I took her over to one of the online shopping malls, and I showed her a $30 light that she could buy 2 of, and it's perfect. It's a little lamp. It sits on the desk. It's got a frosted front on it. It's dimmable, so you can adjust the lighting levels up and down however you need it, and it's color temperature adjustable. If I use the term color temperature, do any of you know what that means? If you show me with your hands or nod or whatever. The color temperature for indoor lighting, where we are right now, is typically measured in what's called the Kelvin scale. It's about 3,200 degrees Kelvin. It's called tungsten lighting, based on, it used to be tungsten elements in the lamps. Daylight outside, and it's warm. It's reddish to the hue. Daylight lighting is more in the 5,000, 5,200, 5,600 degrees Kelvin. It's blue. It's daylight. Cameras nowadays don't need to be actively white balanced. When I was in the broadcast industry, we would actually have to hit a white balance button on a white card. We would have to, in broadcasting, we would have to use what's called a logarithmic reflectance chart, a chip chart. We'd have to really color balance the cameras. Cameras nowadays do all of this for you, but you don't want to fight the lighting. If you're sitting by a window and you've got daylight coming in, and the artificial lighting you have, the room light or the tungsten light, is a different. It's not daylight color temperature. It's tungsten. You're either going to look red on one side or you're going to look blue on one side. You don't want to have 2 different kinds of lighting. There are multiple ways of fixing that. One is close the shades. Then you deal with just the indoor lighting. Another way to fix it is to match it. You can match outdoor lighting with indoor lighting. You can easily buy light bulbs nowadays, very expensive ones, automated ones, whatever you want, that are daylight color temperature. So the light coming in from outside matches what's in your room. Or what lighting and professionals used to do is they used to put a tungsten, 3,200 degree filter on the windows. So the windows are coming in the same color. Just don't fight the sun. It's more powerful than you are. Make sure that whatever you're doing, if there's daylight, you're matching the color temperature, and make sure that you have the dedicated lighting. And I've done these tests, and I'm happy to do them again. If you just look at any camera shot that you're in, without the lighting and with the lighting, it's night and day. It's amazing how good that is. So that was number 7. We'll keep going. I think it's very important in a home office setup, modern home office setup, to use more than one display for whatever your compute device is. If I'm traveling as I am now and I'm working out of a hotel, I open up my notebook and I do the work on a display and I'm perfectly fine with it. But if I'm at my desk, I would like to have one display dedicated for collaboration and conferencing, so that I know that that's the one that I'm using when I'm looking at the far end. I've got the camera set up correctly for it, and I know that it works. I'm doing my email, I'm doing my work, I'm doing PowerPoints, whatever else I'm doing on a second display. So that's 2 displays that are more comfortable for me. One, I kind of think of it as like us and them. Us is, my stuff is here, they're over there. But you know what? That's even not effective enough for me to use. I have a 3rd display at my desk. And the reason I have a 3rd display at my desk is because, again, from the way I function and the way I do what I do for a living, I'm often presenting to remote people. I'm sharing content. So You can share content in any of the active platforms right now, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, any of the other ones. You can either share the specific application you have open, or you can share an entire screen. And it's very comfortable for me in these types of environments when I'm moving around slides on the fly and talking to people that I will share that third display so that I know anything that I'm dragging over to that, my far end is seeing. So again, here's the one display is so I can see the people at the far end and speak to them. One display is all the content that I'm going to be sharing, and one display is all my stuff that I'm never going to share. So if I get a pop-up email from my wife saying, "Are you coming to dinner tonight?" I know the far end will never see that because that's not going to be on the screen that I'm sharing. Other people can use 4, 5, 6 screens. Honestly, I've graduated since I've done this this presentation. I use 3 PCs, 2 iOS devices, and I have a total of like 9 screens in front of me at my desk. But I work in the collaboration industry, so I'm weird. I'm doing a lot of things at the same time. The point is, displays are very inexpensive nowadays. Have more than one and set it up so that you're comfortable the way you want to use it. Backgrounds. One thing the pandemic brought us that I can regret to this day is virtual backgrounds. I'm at the beach. I'm on Mars. I'm at an office. It's amazing when you have conferences with people across the country and it looks like they're all sitting in the same office because they're using the same stock Microsoft background. If you want to use a virtual background, that's fine. If you want to use a blurred background, that's fine. If you don't want to use either of those and you want to use a real background, that's a great choice. Have the background say to your far end what you want it to. If you want to say, I'm working in a workshop and I've got a lot of gear behind me and there's a lot of clutter and that's what I do, that's what your background should show. If your background wants to show that you're a very neat, well-kept person and you have everything organized and you just want to show maybe a sign of the name of the company that you're working with and maybe a plant and some neat bookshelves or your art or sports jerseys. I know a couple of people that have jerseys of their sports team, their football team, and their favorite quarterback behind them. Make sure that that is a conscious choice, that whatever your background is what you want to be showing to the far end. If anybody's ever seen any of my webcasts or podcasts, I have a strange background. It started probably 25, 30 years ago when video conferencing first became available. There weren't a lot of places to call. So I set up the video conference device on my desk to be in what was called then auto answer mode, and I had a lot of kinetic stuff behind me. I had one of those plasma balls where it touches, I still have, a Pac-Man clock where Pac-Man comes out and chases the ghosts and all. So, because I wanted the background to be busy so that people would have something they can demonstrate when they're calling. That somehow over my career became a trademark of mine. So I don't change it. It's intentionally busy. But whatever you want to use as a background, as long as it is a conscious choice that it's saying what you want to say to your audience, that's fine. But make that choice. Make sure it's what you want. You're going to be at that desk a long time. Even if it's a stand-up desk, you're going to be at that desk a long time, especially when you're working remotely. You want to make sure that you're aware of when you started during the day and when you've stopped and when you've walked away. But honestly, remote workers, every survey has come back and showed that when you're working remotely, you are more productive, you are busier, and in fact, the time that you're not spending commuting, most of that time often goes to the employer. You're doing more work, you're working longer. Make sure you have a comfortable chair. We all sit in chairs in offices and desks in rooms like this, and it's not good for my back, or it's not good for my legs, or I have armrests that I don't like, or I don't have armrests. If you're going to be in that kind of a situation for an extended period of time, make sure that you have a comfortable chair. Whatever that costs you to spend, get something that you can sit in, that you know that you can relax in, that you're not feeling bad. And again, even if you're in a stand-up desk, at some point during the day you're going to want to sit down. Make sure you've got a comfortable place to sit. It's very important. Glare and reflections. I don't know right now what you're seeing in my glasses, but I assume you're not seeing too much reflection or too much light coming off the lighting. I pay extra for most of my glasses, since I wear glasses so that I can see. I pay extra to have a special anti-glare coating put on so that you might see like a little bit of a purple ring around it, but you don't see the glare. That's especially important when I told you I have a light over here and I have a light over here and I have 9 screens in front of me. It would be very easy for me to, people wouldn't see my eyes, they'd only see the reflections. But the coating that I put on my glasses prevents those reflections. It's a little more expensive. The last time I did it, I think it was around $80 additional to have on there, but most eyeglass manufacturers do that. So if you have to wear glasses, by all means, get them specifically treated so that they don't have reflection. And the other thing is, I spend so much time at my work desk at home. I'm wearing, these are Ray-Bans, by the way, don't they look cool? I'm wearing my normal day-to-day glasses right now, which is for distance vision so that I can drive and I can do other things. And these also darken when I'm outside, you know, so that they're sunglasses automatically. When I'm at my desk, and most of my work is 12 to 18 inches away from me, I made a specific separate set of glasses just for that distance to optimize the screens for computers, to optimize, you know, my viewing distance at that point. So I would definitely say if you're going to be spending a lot of time at a desk, at a computer, and doing video calls, get yourself a set of glasses that are for that distance and that don't provide any glare. And then the last point is life. I told you my office in my house is in my basement, and in my basement it could just as easily be 4 a.m. as it could be 4 p.m., and there's no way to tell. I can put up a clock, but a clock doesn't really do anything for humans. We like seeing natural light and what's going on in the world. So if you can set up your desk somewhere where there's a window, and again, you have to deal with the lighting treatment like we talked about, somewhere where there's a window is a better place for you to have it, because you see when the sun's coming up, and you can see if it's raining, and you can see when the mail's coming, or if somebody's ringing the bell or whatever you want. It's a good idea to be able to have a window out, to know when it's getting dark at night, when you've been at your desk all day. It's good for human nature. It's good for our soul to see that. Since I don't have that in my basement, I've taken a very simple basic web camera and stuck it in the front corner of my front window in my house. And I have one of my 17 or 18 old abandoned iPads up on a little desk mount over my computer screen, and it is always on that camera that's shining outside. Same thing, I can see when the sun comes up, I can see when the sun goes down, I understand when the mail is here. I've never actually done this before, but I'm going to give it a shot to see if over 5G, if I can actually show you what that looks like, because I can access the web camera from anywhere. Loading, 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 loading. Okay, so that's the front of my house. Well, we've got 2 cars in the driveway. They're both there. That means my wife and kids are home. And I can see that it's not raining, and I can see the grass is there, and if anybody rings the bell, I can see if there's a FedEx truck there or if there's some other delivery going on. And I have this image sitting in my office on an iPad all the time. It's just easy for me to keep an eye on, keep track on life. And as silly as it sounds, as it's not, you know, not that important, you don't need it for technical, it's good to have your circadian rhythms lined up with what's going on out in the real world, and you know, when is daylight and when do days start and when do nights happen. It's really good. It's healthy if you're going to be at your desk for a long time to have that point of reference. And in your subconscious, it works really well. Here's a slide you may be familiar with. These are my 12 rules for how to have a successful work-from-home environment. Your rules may be different. I would suggest you take each one of my points into consideration. You may not wear glasses. You may not have the ability to have 9 displays on your desk. That's fine. But if you listen to the reason why I did every one of these things and why I suggest these for the design and adapt them for yourself, you may find something that works better for you. And by all means, if you've got a suggestion that I haven't included for work from home and you want to send it out to me, you can reach out. My email is available online everywhere. It's on this presentation. I'd be happy to add it and amend it. But these are the general 12 steps that I recommend if you're going to be working remotely for any extended period of time, to make sure that you have a setup that works really well for working remotely. Any questions? Go for it.
So can you give an idea of how much, what is the budget, like minimum budget for this?
Yeah, I've never actually considered that. That's a great idea. I'd have to put all of that together. But if I bop through all the suggestions, the expensive pieces, you want to spend, $200 on a camera. Somebody adding this up while I go through this?
I can.
You got it? Thank you.
I got
Okay.
it.
So I'll wait for you. Okay, $200 for a camera. You can spend more, you can spend less, but let's say you have that. An old iPad, what you can get them for used on eBay, about $100, $80, 100, we'll round up. You want me to include the glasses?
No.
Okay, I want to include the glasses, okay. A really good headset, let's say $200 for that. And put in another $100 for a really good desk microphone. And some type of speaker. So add another $50 for that.
Chair, desk.
Chair, a good chair is about $175 at a supply store. Desk could be anything from $50 to $5,000. Put in $200 for a desk. You can always just buy a table at IKEA and build it yourself. They have some sort of weird name. Displays, all right, that's a good point. Your computer, if you get a really good, high quality, i7 or equivalent gaming computer, should be around $1,000. And then to get 2 additional displays onto it, you can get USB-C standalone displays nowadays for about $100 each. Let's put in another $100 for the kind of mounts, so that these things are going to be attached to your desk somehow and somewhere, and you might need a power strip and something like that. So $100 for miscellaneous.
Light.
Oh, and the lights. Let's call them $30 each, because I told you somebody just bought them while we were here at the show. So it's $30 for key, $30 for fill, and $30 for back. So $90, or another $100 for lighting. Now you can go out and get one really good, high quality video light for about $100, or you can buy the 3 lamps I'm talking about on Amazon or anywhere else. So I'll stay with that estimate. I don't think we're forgetting anything else, are we? iPad. Oh, the camera, the webcam that you would want to hook up to the iPad. No, I did the camera for me, but I'm talking about the little webcam. So it's a baby monitor camera. It would be, I don't know, $50. The camera on me, I'm talking about $200 for a really good, high-quality, well-known brand collaboration camera, because it's your presentation to the far end. The camera that's shooting out your front window, you can just get whatever import, inexpensive piece of garbage it is, because they don't break. So, or just get a window and they didn't have to spend the money.
So you're at a little over $2,500.
$2,500.
Ish.
But the point that I would make, if you're doing it from scratch, many people already have their notebook. Many people already have a desk where they can go. Some people have a chair that they like to use. So from scratch, $25-ish, $100. Thank you, Amelia. I appreciate it.
And I guess the budget spot is the PC.
What you need on your desk, the camera, the audio, everything else, that's where you have to really pay attention to quality, and the PC is the most expensive piece.
I'm wondering what kind of roomy desk you need for 9 monitors.
I should share. I'll share a picture with you afterwards. But I have an L-shaped desk. That here's my display that I do my remote viewing on, and then over here I have an extra tier on top of the L, and here are 2 PCs. Here's my main PC, so that one monitor is here, which is actually a Cisco Desk Pro, which is upstairs on the floor if you want to see it. And then I have a second HDMI monitor, and the third monitor is the laptop display. So those are the 3 that are there. And then I've got a second notebook here, because this is my work notebook and this is my personal notebook. If you're working for a large enterprise organization, they're going to give you the tool, and they tell you you're allowed to use this tool just for the enterprise. So if you need to do shopping on Amazon, or if you want to go to YouTube, you don't use their PC. You use your PC. It's just, you don't want to break rules that you don't need to break. So there's my other PC, and I happen to have a second monitor on that one as well. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I have the iPad, which is 6, and then I have an iPhone, which is 7, and I know I've counted to 9. I don't know where the other ones are, but it's smaller displays in front of me that are around doing other things. So, and I always have my personal phone with me, so you're staring at any given time at 9 displays. One of them's always got a clock on it, but the clock, I switch to a timer when I'm doing a podcast, so I know how much time I've used and what's left. I have a weird job. You know, I'm monitoring multiple types of conferencing. Not everybody has the same job. Some people are working for, you know, in healthcare, need to have Epic up on their screen, or you know, if they're working in any type of organization, there's a platform they need to be monitoring at all time, and then they're also monitoring their email, whatever that is. So that's 2 right off the bat, and then you've got 3rd for conferencing. So it just works out that way. And I'll send you a picture. Any other questions?
I guess this is not totally relevant, but, and you're not an eye doctor, but like, what do you notice different between wearing your regular glasses and your special glasses?
Oh, that's a good question. I have them here. I'll show you when I put them on later. But when everything I'm working on is close up, I generally wear my work glasses around the house 100% of the time, because they make images, they're a little bigger, it's a little easier to see, it's a little clearer, it's easier to work on. I'm nearsighted, so when I don't have them with me, like if I was working on a computer to make sure the presentation was fine, I'm taking my glasses off so that I can see and I'm squinting. But when I'm home, I'm wearing those all the time. When I make the horrible mistake of wearing those outside the house to drive, and the minute I look up about 20 feet away and it's all blurry, that's when I know I need to put these glasses on. Some people use bifocals, but again, I'm very sensitive to things. I thought it might make me dizzy. So it's good to, if you go to any eye doctor, eye company, you know, the corner store that does those types of things, you would describe them as computer glasses. They know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, terrific. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for paying attention to this. If anybody needs me, my email is up on the screen. I'm very happy to chat with people. And like I said, if we can amend this going forward and put in more suggestions, it'd be my pleasure to do that. Thanks for joining us.